From the Apopka Studios in Oklahoma City, you're watching the Press Row. I'm Jenny Carlson here with Mike Sherman. It's time for our weekly We Pick'em segment. Not many games to pick from though, Mike, but we'll do our darndest to pick from some either-ors here. Let's start with this as the OU spring game gets ready to start. Who in the world is OU's best player? Is it Trey Millard or is it Kenny Stills?
I'm going to go with Kenny Stills. I think it has to be Kenny Stills. I think this whole offense is structured around a go-to receiver. There's got to be somebody who can get downfield and be the guy that the quarterback's looking to when all else fails. It was Broyles there for these many years. Now it's got to be Stills. He talks like he wants to do that. He told Jason Kersey that a couple days ago. We're going to write about that for Friday's editions of the Oklahoman. I think it's got to be, for the best of the team, it's got to be Kenny Stills.
Well, I think athletically he's a guy that definitely has the ability to be that guy. But I think Trey Millard has a chance to be that guy too. Bob Stoops, as I wrote about earlier this week, he raves about Trey Millard. I mean, this is a guy that he falls into that Brody Eldridge school of thought. Bob Stoops loves him some fullbacks. But you know what? Trey does a lot more than some of these other guys have been able to do. And frankly, I hope that some of this talk about getting him more use comes to pass. The guy runs like he's about 50 pounds lighter than he actually is, or 4 inches shorter or something. He's got great speed, great footwork, great strength. To me, they need to use him. Yes, they're going to still be a passing team. You don't have Landry Jones and not throw the ball down the field. But what he could give to their running game, I think it could be huge. I think he's really multidimensional, and they should use him in a lot more of those dimensions for sure. All right, here's another one to pick from. Since we're talking OU's best player, why not OSU's best player? Who is it, Mike? Is it Joe Randall or is it Sean Lewis?
Well, I think a strong case can be made for Joseph Randall. You made that on Monday at the writers' meeting in which we talked about this. It's funny what you remember. I remember the fumbles, and I remember the fumbles at Ames. And, it's too bad to forget all those yards, all those receptions, all those touchdowns. It's probably Joe Randall, probably. I'm going to go on the other side. I think the defense really needs to step up, is stepping up at Oklahoma State. Best linebacking core in the Gundy years, best linebacking core in a long time at Oklahoma State. Sean Lewis is the best of that best crew. And a leader. I think the defense has got to take more onus this year for Oklahoma State. I'm going with Sean Lewis.
Sean Lewis, great athlete for sure. And Joe Randall, until he started fumbling so much towards the end of the year last year, I thought he was in the running for, I think you could have made the argument even then he was OSU's best player on a lot of occasions. And that includes a team with Justin Blackman and Brandon Whedon. I get that. But this guy, much like Trey Millard at OU, very multidimensional. And I think considering the new quarterbacks at OSU, that's where Joe Randall's, I think that's where his importance rises even more. He's great out of the backfield, but he's also great catching the ball and dumping off those short passes. Could really give some confidence to whoever gets that quarterback job. I think they're going to use him way more than they did a year ago.
You said this. We saw what happened when they tried to take Jeremy Smith and put him in that dump-off role. Didn't work. Gina's talked about that too. That really kind of increases Joseph Randall's importance.
It shows you how difficult it is for some of those guys, but Joe Randall makes it look easy. All right, what about this one, Mike? Baylor's infractions, big deal or not? Obviously a week when we found out Baylor's basketball teams apparently made some impermissible texts and phone calls.
Kelvin Sampson says it's not a big deal. The NCAA now says it's not a big deal. It's sort of, decriminalized it. But when they did it, the rules were that they were a big deal. They're major violations. I think the women's basketball program, according to today's paper, really dodged a bullet. I think the penalties could have been worse. Basically, what it did was gave Baylor more influence in the recruitment of Brittany Griner. Did Brittany Griner turn out to be much of a big deal? Undefeated season, player of the year, transcendent player at Baylor. I think it gave them an unfair advantage. It was against the rules. It's a big, big deal. I'm not sure. I don't get the decriminalization of that. I think they should have stuck with the rules on these contacts and cell phone and text messaging.
You're right. That's a little bit odd that we're now in this phase of the NCAA rules where they're saying, you know what, go ahead and text people. It's okay. It's fine. We're going to give this a try now. Because it makes it look like, well, are we really supposed to think these are a big deal or not? I will say this. The NCAA, if they came in and took as hard a look at Baylor's men's and women's basketball teams as it sounds like they did, and all they came up with were phone records and cell phone and text messages, maybe that means Baylor's not doing so bad. I mean, I'm not saying it's right what they did, But I think a lot of people do this, and it is a big deal. They're going to get knocked down for it. They're going to have some restrictions placed on them, but I don't know. It's an odd time right now with the NCAA saying, well, we don't think it's that big a deal anymore.
Outworking people, minor violation.
All right, what about this one, Mike? Olympics are coming. NBA Olympians, pay them or not? Dwayne Wade says we need to be paid.
Has Ray Allen and Dwayne Wade lost their ever-loving minds? Do they have agents? Do they have marketing people? Do they have anybody who tells them, listen, you are a quadruple, you're in the six, I forget how many figures their salaries are in. You make so much money, and now you want to get paid for playing in the Olympics? Do you know how this plays in the middle of an election year with a recession? Are you kidding me? Ray Allen, worry about getting back in the starting lineup for the Celtics. I realize you got asked this by a reporter, but think, please, before you talk. Hey, Jerry Colangelo, don't pay him a red cent. Find people who will play for love of country. For Americans, right now, who cares whether they win? Find somebody who wants to be there. Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, sounds like James Harden would like to play. I don't think the beard wants to get paid yet. Nor should he ever.
Maybe just a little bit of shaving cream or something is all he wants. Yeah, this is crazy talk. I mean, for years, all Olympians were amateurs. They couldn't make a dime, and they finally changed that, and it's still a very hard living for most of the Olympians that you'll see in London this summer. And here you've got multimillionaires, the guys that make the most, probably save a few tennis players out there that'll be there, and they want to get paid? Yeah, I understand you're taking on more games, it's more time. But if you don't want to do it, just say so. Don't go, but don't ask to get paid. That seems crazy, frankly.
It is.
All right, let's finish up with this one. It is a game we're going to pick from. Thunder at Minnesota. Mike, obviously this is a second night of a back-to-back. Thunder will host Sacramento on Friday, but then go to Minnesota. Who you got in this one?
Can I just take the over instead of picking a winner? That game they played in Oklahoma City, it was one of the most entertaining games of the year. Defense optional. Kevin Love was shooting the ball like no big man I've ever seen. That net wasn't even moving. The stiffest net. Okay, so I'm saying the Thunder, what they showed me against the Clippers, doesn't really impress me. I'd be worried about the back-to-back, but I think they will wake up, Jenny. I think they'll say, we'll need this. I think they'll try to get out and get a hand on Kevin Love. It's a bad matchup, but I'm going with the Thunder.
Yeah, I'm going with the Thunder too. And yes, that game against Sacramento, Sacramento did win in Sacramento against the Thunder. Don't forget that. So Thunder not going to be able to just, ease into a win on Friday night. But I think they'll take care of it, especially after that loss against the Clippers. And then that game at Minnesota starts a lengthy road trip. They're not going to play a home game at all next week, which has been rare during this short season. So I think they're going to want to get off to a good start. They know that they did not handle Kevin Love the right way last time. Surely they learned a lesson, didn't they?
Don't put Serge on him out on the perimeter.
You got to find somebody, but it didn't work last time. And be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.